Okay, at the beginning, I went to work with a crane company in 1952, and my boss was Art Heath, prince of a guy. He treated me well, and I worked in the warehouse maybe for a year. Then he brought me in the office. I did primarily quotes with jobs coming up. And finally, he put me on the road when I was 22 when I worked there. And I think I was probably 28 or 29 when I went on the road. And it was very funny. The first guy I called on was a local plumber. I told him I would be calling on him because he's putting me on the road. He said, "I'll tell you how to be successful in the plumbing business." I said, "Okay, please." He said, "Learn how to tell lies and drink liquor." I said, "I ain't gonna make it then." So in 1959, 7 years later, they decided the crane company started selling the branches. And so Mr. Heath, in the meantime, got together some buyers. One of them was John Menges, the Pepsi man, Dr. H.B. Grant, the pediatrician, the young Pulley, the banker, and a guy named Vic Hamlet, who was already a salesman for the company anyhow. So they bought what was then called Crane Company. So we closed the doors on Sunday night, working for Crane Company. Walked in the next morning at 8 o'clock working for a new company. And so that was going good. And then Vic Hamlet, one of the original owners, died. And they ran an ad in some kind of industry magazine called Supply House Times, looking for a manager. Vic was on the road, even though he owned it. He was 25% owner, and he went on the road. He was a road salesman, and they wanted somebody inside the branch to run stuff. And so the second guy walked in one day, and somebody had replied to the ad. Let's say his name was Joe Smith. So they asked Seaton if they knew Joe Smith. He was from Pennsylvania somewhere. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Why are you asking about him?" And they told him we think about hiring him to come down here as a general manager. He said, "I'd like to talk to you about it." So they said, "Okay." So they said, we'll sell that interest to you rather than contacting that guy. And so he came in and initially was probably okay, but then he got to be pushing, be around, and I was already on the road selling. And I don't know why, but he called me in one day and said, "I'm going to change your compensation." I said, "Well, for what?" He said, "You're making too much money." I said, "Well, when I bring in $1, you get 80 cents and I get 20 cents. What's wrong with that? The more dollars I bring in, the more money you make, the more money I make." He said, "You're making more than the average supply house salesman's making." And I said, "Who wants to be average?" So kind of let it go at that, and so then he started. He had another guy named Bernie Atchison, and he started working on him, cutting his salary, our commissions, etc. And Bernie came to me one day and said, "I understand no man's really up to just your salary." And jokingly, I said, "Well, he wouldn't do that to you like he's doing it to me, because he was older than I was to start with." And so then I think he started working on trying to think who the third guy. RCO started working on RC, and we kind of got together one day and had a secret meeting, and then we complained to Mr. Pulley and Mr. Menges, and they said, "Well, why don't you go in business for yourself? We'll furnish the money." So we got out and rented a warehouse. Mr. Pulley said, "There's a truck for sale in Greenwood." He took me in his car, his Lincoln Town car. Well, on we bought the truck. He said, "Write the check for the truck." I wrote the check for the truck. And then we placed our purchase orders. We're still working at the NC, but we're doing all this stuff behind the scenes. And I think we went to Greenwood and bought that truck, maybe on a Saturday. But we had the purchase orders to ship on a certain date. And so that was going to be the date that we were going to resign. And so we had I think a military term is clandestine meetings where you do it in complete secret. So we told all of our local clients what we were doing, but please don't circulate this. Keep it quiet. And we never had a leak of information while we were still working there. So on a particular Monday morning in September of 1972, we had this meeting, and the question was, we knew, I think it was 9 of us that retired was going to resign. And then somebody said, "Well, who's going to be first?" I said, "Me." And then I think RC was second. So I went in and laid my car keys on his desk, and I said, "I'm resigning." And he didn't say, "Can we talk? Good luck," or whatever you're doing. And then I walked out, and right behind me was RC. Right behind RC was Irene Barnes. Behind Irene was Ann Shuren. Behind Ann Shuren was, I forgot who the other 3 or 4 was. So all of a sudden we didn't have any transportation, because I turned the car keys in. RC turned his car keys in. And so we sent William Tiller in there to see if Seaton would let him take us to our new location. So within the hour, we had unlocked the door at the new location, and it started stocking merchandise and waiting on customers. And so it was a God thing. Everything just fell out for us like it was pre-planned.
And who named it?
And then
who came up with the name?
Huh?
Who came up with the name?
I don't really know. I think it was Mr. Pulley, State Wholesale Supply. And of course, we had a lawyer named John B. Axum, the same guy that represented me in the divorce case, that was a company attorney. And he's the one that filed the articles of incorporation. And then you got down to who's going to be the president and who's going to be the vice president. And I was one of the vice presidents. We must have had about 6 VPs. There was no more pay, but you had to name somebody on the charter. And so we determined how much salary we had to have. I think they started paying me $600 a week. Pretty sure it was, which was ample. And then we opened the doors and let the clients know they were open for business and it worked like a gym. In the meantime, we had a guy named James Lewis that worked with us at State Wholesale. We asked him to go with us, and he said,
You said State Wholesale, but what was the name of the previous business?
NC Supply.
NC Supply, okay.
And it was like, it didn't matter where we hang the sign. We had the work ethic that was necessary. So when we left, he decided that he would, Stephen would decide if he was going to continue to knock our feet out from under us. Because now we're competitors. And I don't know how much time elapsed, but he eventually sold NC Supply to Dixie Supply in Greenville. And Dixie went bankrupt. And NC Supply went belly up.
It did?
Yeah.
I thought it was what Hughes Supply is today.
They're big.
Huh?
Yeah, big. They're really big.